Hello, everyone. Welcome to our fourth webinar, the third season of the Smart Talks program, Smart Metering, the next steps. Discuss about what should be done to make the best use of smart metering that will bring us closer to the implementation of smart cities. Is multi-utility the first step towards smart cities? We are witnessing that besides electricity meters, more and more metering devices are getting online and sending data about water, gas, and heat consumption. So in this webinar, we will discuss the impact of multi-utility on smart cities development, standardization multi-utility, and benefits for the utilities and customers. So please welcome our guest, Mr. Klemen Belec, Chair of Electrical Energy Smart Meter Sub-Working Group at DLMS, Mr. Davy Michiels,
Hello, welcome all.
Enterprise Architect at Fluvius, and Mr. Brunner, former President of ESMIG.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you for joining us today. And I will now start with questions for our guests. Before that, I would like to encourage the audience to ask questions during this webinar in the chat session of the Zoom. So first question, would multi-utility devices be read using an electricity meter or independently? Klemen, you have extensive experience in standardization associations, first in the ED Association and now in the DLMS. So maybe you can be the first to answer on this question.
Well, thank you, Jovan, for the word. It's always a pleasure to be here and to be in an environment with such a renowned panelist. But yeah, to go straight to the question, I believe that we should look to this challenge from multiple angles. Of course, and maybe I will start with the current directives, which are kind of major ones in Europe, which is the sustainability, building the green society and economy. And if we are looking from this perspective, a clear conclusion might be that the multi-utility approach is the correct one, because we will use less materials. We will try to aggregate multiple data streams in the limited number of devices. So this apparently looks as the way forward. Of course, there are some challenges which needs to be considered. Not all the utilities are today multi-utility or multi-energy companies, which means that some companies will have to see either some mutual benefits, so to say, if they join their forces and use the multi-utility principle, not only on the device side, but as well on the central side, for example. So to make the story short, I would say, yes, definitely multi-utility can bring some benefits, but we as a society, we need to assure that there will be clear a value added for every company that is going to enter such a relationship.
Okay, thank you, Klemen. David, would you give us your opinion?
Yes, from practical utility DSO side at Fluvius in Belgium, I can only contribute to what Klemen already said. Indeed, we are a multi-utility DSO, and we started off with points like Klemen said, the long-term goals. And indeed, I would strongly encourage to work on this multi-utility and use the electricity meter as a central point. I think, as already said, we need to look at the values which that can realize, and there are certainly values in the rollout we are currently doing in Flanders in Belgium. We see that there are synergies, first of all, on the central IT systems, where we really can share one effort or central platforms. You can reduce both the invest cost as the operational cost. Secondly, setting up a multi-utility architecture reduces also the complexity, so it has a positive effect on the cost economical benefits, and it also helps you to streamline rollouts, for example, as we clearly see in Belgium. Fluvius as itself, we are operating on electricity and gas, but also some heat networks, some public lighting. But I think it's already well known in the industry, we have a joint collaboration with the water distribution companies in Flanders, where we really hook on also the water, smart water meter to our platform. So it's a clear example of multi-utility spanning over companies. The water companies are separate companies from ourselves, but nevertheless, we invest together in a central platform, a common rollout, and it's really giving value for all the companies participating, but in the end, even more for the customer, who is really evolving to a smart city, a smart citizen, having this multi-utility setup. So yes, from our side, we strongly encourage, and we are proving day by day now with our rollout in Belgium.
Okay, thank you, Davy. Dieter?
Yeah, I think a lot of things has been said. I think we all believe in multi-utility and that this is the next step to do. To your question about should we read the things via electricity meters, I think giving a clear picture here, as Mr. Michiels said before, the complexity is quite high on multi-utility system. The positive thing which we have in electricity meter is that he is always under power, and putting a communication gateway into electricity meter is no restriction versus if you have meters like gas meters, water meters, heat meters or cold meters, which uses battery for their measurement system as well as for communication parts. So if you put all data via, let's say, a wireless M-bus, an M-bus, or any other RF communication directly to the electricity meter and consolidate there the communication into one channel up to a central system, it's much better, much more economical. Also, if you look from the point of view, if you have in each meter a modem, or you only have one communicating modem, being it a cell modem or LoRa or whatever. And on the other side, you don't have the problem with the battery power, with the runtime of all of this. But of course, I think that's my point of view, the preferred solution. But it depends a lot on the coordination and cooperation between the utilities, because not many utilities have everything together. A lot of utilities, as we see in Western Europe, have gas and electricity, and water meter companies, they are much more fragmented. You know, each utility, each city, sometimes each village has its own water utility, and so the complexity of getting this all together, like Fluvius have done this in Belgium, is on some parts quite difficult. I think the Belgium way of rollout, where you put everything together, you have a common rollout, a common platform, you do the rollout together, I think that's an optimal situation. So yes, preferred, I would say, is reading the data via the electricity meters, or you can go down the way as the Germans have done, where you have a smart meter gateway where all the connectivities are between the measurements, so the electricity, gas meter, water meter, and the gateway, and the gateway communicates then in a secure way to a central platform. These are the two main parts, other than each meter communicates on its own, which is, I would say, at the moment still the most application which you will find, but not the most economical.
Okay. Okay, we hope that at the end we will have only one solution. But let's see. Okay, but thank you. Your answer leads us to the next question: how to motivate utilities to implement multi-utility. And Davy, you come from a utility company where you have already worked on the multi-utility project. So from your experience, what is your opinion? How to motivate utilities?
Yes, indeed, some motivation is needed because it's a complex setup, and indeed, as Mr. Brunner already said, it requires a lot of alignment and coordination. And I think there an important aspect for utilities is the experience. I think we all know that on the electricity side, there is for the longest time the experience. We've all been very active for over 10 years or even longer now. On smart electricity meters, so there's a vast amount of experience shared within the industry. For other utilities, that experience is a little bit less. So I think an important motivation factor is to share the experience, because when another utility, well, let's take for example water or heat distribution network, starts on this journey, yeah, you're confronted, you're faced with the same problems and challenges all over again, and that would be a pity to not use the experience which was already built up. And I think there, even before thinking on doing something joint, because indeed in Belgium and Flanders we aligned up to the optimal, but even before that, even you can share experience, lessons learned, standards. So because indeed the use cases are the same in the end. We talk a lot on the setup and the meters, but in the end, it's about data. You do this to retrieve more data from your metering points, not only consumption data, but also other kinds which you can use for your grid management, which you can use for your maintenance. But even more, and that's new, to inform your customer, because in the end goal is you can optimize a lot on the utility side, but in the end, we all need to take along the citizen on the journey of sustainability, of the journey toward the future, as Mr. Belec said in the beginning. So the data is key, and there the data is even more valuable when you can combine it. So motivation is really to bring or sit together as utilities, multi-utilities within the same region, to talk on the experience, to talk on the designs, and from there work towards an aligned offering. That can be, yeah, that can from just share experience up to common rollout. And also there, what I would recommend, and what we have done, is do not hesitate as a utility to think and make a proposal from yourself towards your government and regulator, and don't wait for it. And utility and the long roadmap, the long journey is quite complex, but based on the shared experience and the alignment, you can make a proposal towards the regulator on how to realize the goals, and that would really help and can lead to collaboration and towards multi-utility setup. That's our experience, and that's what I would like to give to all our listeners.
Okay, Dieter, do you have something to add?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good question how to motivate the utilities to make multi-utility. So if a utility has electricity and gas and water under his control, it's the easiest way, absolutely. All other ways are very, very complex, and I just can support the opinion about experience sharing, and it's a proactive approach. I'm happy to hear this from the Belgian utility, you know, because this is really something which you have seen also back in the start at electricity meter rollout for smart meters. There are companies which are proactive approach, which go to the regulator and say, hey, let's do this and this. We see the positive sides, and there are companies which are leaning back and wait until something gets regulated by government, by the European Union, whatever. I think one of the big driver for the motivation of the utilities is, of course, cost savings. If you can put things together, have one common platform, have one rollout, combine the rollout, have one-time communication costs, this is a quite big cost saving for all of the utilities. On the other side, I think it's a good opportunity also to do then the analytics on the platform with much more data, seeing a complete overall holistic pictures from the customer, and give a much better support to the customer, to the end user, so that also with this you can get maybe a better end user service and a better, how should I say, that the customer stays with you. But it requires a great deal of cooperation between the utilities and a proper framework also for the privacy and the security, so that all those things are clean and clear. I would wish that there are more utilities who see those things and who drive this way. But as we said before, it's complex, but I think besides the obvious costs on material and workforce, one of the costs which is very much underestimated still are the share of experience. And there the utilities with electric smart meters, they have an advantage of up to 10 years.
Okay, thank you, Dieter. Klemen.
Yeah, basically everything was said from my two predecessors, but yes, I can just confirm that the utilities dealing with the electricity, they for sure have the advantage, and they have standards in place, and they were able to leave even the interoperability. And since this is there already, of course, it makes a lot of sense that those experience that are there, they are transferred into heat, water, gas, because we will all benefit from this. The standardization was mentioned already. I would come more from the end user perspective, which Dieter mentioned. Yes, it's super important, and now, especially when the water is becoming scarce, electricity prices are increasing. Of course, our end users are demanding more data, not only the monthly bill. And for them, it will be super important that they will have a single interface, a single application where they will be able to operate multiple energies that they daily use or daily operate with. And on the other side, if we are mentioning the smart cities, it's the same. Imagine if we can combine the data from water, heat, gas, and electricity at the same time. Then we can predict, based on the data analytics, what might happen in the future in a suburb of a city, or where we need to pay attention to, which parts of the city we need to, I don't know, rebuild the infrastructure, and all those kind of things. And one more thing, I think this multi-utility is even today going beyond the water, heat, gas, because we should not forget that in homes we have heat pumps that tend to have meters in it. We have electricity charging, electrical vehicle charging stations, again with the meters. We have inverters for solar plants. And of course, the retailers would like to know what are the inverters currently generating in order to either give some energy for the grids to balance or stabilize the network, or sell it on the wholesale market. So I think we will see more sources in the future coming under the same basket of multi-utility.
Okay. And okay, we heard that electricity utilities are motivated and that most of them have implemented the smart metering system. But the question is how to encourage collaboration of different utilities, or how to motivate water, gas, heat utilities to work together with the electricity utility and to have a mutual smart metering system. And Dieter, you were the president of ESMIG, and before that the president of the ID Association. So with this, let's say, rich political experience, what is your answer?
I don't have political experience, Jovan.
Technical, political.
Yeah, but it's a very interesting question, you know, and this is something which we debated in the past quite often. How to motivate utilities to do smart metering, so that they see the benefit out of it. How could we encourage, or what would encourage utilities to go together with gas, water, electricity, and also, as Klemen pointed out, if you look into smart cities, there are much more things which you could connect, even up to the fire protection system, etc., of buildings. You could look into the parking lots of the buildings. There's a lot of things which you could aggregate together. I think one of the point to encourage them, next to, there's always the cost aspect, you know, where they can see how can we save costs and how can we get more data, where you could do more analytics, get more customer loyalties by providing more information to the customers, etc. But I think one of the big thing I would like to see is that this huge complexity of smart meter rollout, of getting all the data, that the utilities sit more together and discuss about how to reduce the risk, how to share experience, how to make the whole thing successful. I think this is the part which is very much underestimated. In my last 15-20 years, where we discuss smart meters, where we discuss multi-utility or dual fuel, as it's called in Netherlands, there has always been the question, why should we do this? What is the best way? And of course, it always starts from a cost point, or the other side is the regulator point, right? Then you need to see in the utilities what is the incentive they get from the regulator body. But if you sit back and say yourself as a utility, I think most of the electricity utility are in a prime situation that they can offer a huge network, a huge experience on already smart metering, on the communication, how to get the data right in time, about all the security, the data, the privacy, etc., where utilities which start now with gas, or even later the water utilities, or heat and cold meters, they are all a step behind. You know, so I only can say, if they all understand what's the complexity of it and how to reduce the risk, and on the other side, what they can take out for the end user, and on information, on analytics, on customer loyalty programs based on their information, I think this should always encourage the utilities for close collaboration in the whole thing.
Okay, thank you. Klemen, do you have to add?
Yes, I would agree what was said, and I would just add that only very large utilities will be able to afford that they will have large team of experts, engineering experts in security, in data science, data analytics, communication, which all of those you need to have if you want to run nowadays your system in a way that it will bring you benefits for you. Because we know that it's no longer about the data that will get into the monthly bill. It's more about the data to how to operate the grid stable, data for other stakeholders. And I just see that there is a lot of utilities in Europe where they will, by no means, they could not have a team of 10, 20 people to run all those operations. So they will have to join their forces and maybe even work together with mayors to set a common platform, and at the end, they will all benefit from this.
Okay, Davy.
On the one hand, I agree with everything which has been said, but I don't think it's the right approach. And I think Dieter already mentioned we are working for 10, 15 years in standardization. I think there are a lot of classical approaches. Let's do a joint pilot and all that stuff. I think I'm convinced that the game changers come from, instead of thinking and looking at this from an internal point of view, cost reduction and all the things you said, to really start outside in and really start with the customer in mind. What are the expectations from the customer, not today or tomorrow, but in 2030, in 2050, even when you start from the energy transition? What does the customer need? The customer as an individual, as a professional customer, but also all kinds of new market players which start to exist. If we think in electricity on the flexibility market, but also in a smart city, it has already been said, the value comes combining all data together, consumption data from electricity, gas, heat network, but also linking data, parking space availability, people, crowd density, and all that kind of stuff. Really, I think that the game changer and the step towards multi-utility, but it's really towards smart city should come. Let's think from what the customer needs outside in view and take that approach. I think over the past decade, we have been too much from internal driven, cost reduction and legislation, but let's turn it around. Let's think together, and then you really come, you cannot do that as a utility alone. You need to collaborate with others. Let's start from that. Let's listen, let's think and create what our customers need in 2030 and 2050 and build upon that, or build towards that. So that, I think, really, it's true what was being said, but we really need another approach to make it happen.
Okay, thank you, Davy, for this highlights from the angle of the customer. Okay, I think that we all are aware that for customer it is more easier to have all data on one place. Also, we heard a lot of benefits for utility, but are the benefits that a multi-utility brings to customers and utilities enough to be the main driving force behind its development? Klemen, what do you think?
Well, I would agree to what David just said. Of course, it's always the operational cost. It's the internal things which I already mentioned, the people, the engineers, the staff. But yeah, in essence, we all need to understand what is the best for the society. And in my beliefs, the driver should be the external one. Whether this is then the European Commission creating the directive, or is it, I don't know, because I'm coming from DLMS, is it partially DMS driving, because we are now creating the profiles not only for the electricity, but as well as for water, gas, and electricity, and we are trying to create some standards for the electrical charging infrastructure as well. I think there will be multiple puzzles in this story, and we all, with the strengths that we possess, we need to contribute into this whole picture. Yeah.
Okay, Davy.
Yes, I think we've touched already a lot on that. Are the benefits there? I think, yeah, internal points, utilities themselves sharing experiences, building a synergy on IT platforms or in rollouts, that's all true. But again, there I repeat my message on the value will really be with the customer, the customer in mind, who really gets a one-stop shop, who really gets one interface. And it will also enable, if we really now look what's happening also in Belgium, the market of the home energy management system is really enabled by doing that. So the benefits are there, but it's really need to look on that because the system will get even more complex. The amount of data will grow, and the multi-utility approach is the only way to leverage that. I think it was Klemen already said, not all companies can set up a security team or a data management team to build the analytics tool. So it's really, the value can only be realized by collaborating together.
Okay, thank you, Dieter.
Yeah, when I look at this and say the benefits for utilities, I think we elaborated quite a lot already on this. What's the benefit on shared platforms, on know-how, on complexity reduction, etc. When you look at are the benefits enough for customer? I think first of all the end user doesn't see it today. You know, there need to be some information campaign and things done like this. You know, I think we should learn out of the beginnings of the electricity meter rollout, where we had a lot of discussions with customer protection organization, where with misleading information about, yeah, if you do all this, you can misuse the data. You can see when is your one taking a shower and when not, etc. Right? All these discussions we had with consumer protection up to the level on the European Commission where we had to discuss this. So first of all, I think we should reflect and show the end user what is their benefit on it. You know, and as Davy said before, we need to put the end user in the center of the whole thing, right? Because at the end, utilities are a service provider, and they need to have customers, and a customer normally stays a customer if he is satisfied with the service which he gets. And the opportunities which you have with multi-utility or with the whole smart city approach on information is tremendous. And I think the benefits are there. It needs to be brought up to light, you know, so that the society really understands what are the benefits in there for the whole thing, and not only for the utilities to see what is the more efficient way. There are a lot of information, as Davy also said, a lot of analytics which can be done and provided. And at the end, it also is also useful for the utilities if you look at analytics, how they plan the network, where they have bottlenecks, what they can do, what's the next step, and opens up new business models to provide service maybe to the other utilities, but also it opens up a lot of possibilities to provide service to the end user. I think the opportunities there are great, and today I think we are not able to see all of it what will come out, and if we take the time span as Davy said, not just 2030, look 2040, 2050, there will be a lot of things to be done.
Yes, I agree. Okay, but after this answer, especially after Klemen's answer, the next logical question is, should the government body get involved and insist on the implementation of multi-utility? And Davy, can you say us your experience from Belgium?
Yes, I think the involvement of the government is a key element there, but there our experience is the utilities and the industry players around this should not wait. And the government will not come from its own with what's needed. So our experience is there that from ourselves with the experience of the electricity together with the other utilities, we really bring forward ideas. The strength of the government can be there and has been there in our case to really bring a message outside, to really involve all the citizens to share the same idea where we are going through. Of course, but that's again, just installing a smart meter by the utility doesn't make the benefits clear for the customer. But what happened in the Belgian case and the Flemish case is that really the government brings out that message. We did not bring the smart meter as a Fluvius smart meter. It's really a society solution, and also that's also where we've done the water meter rollout. It's all in the same idea, bringing and there's the message of the government can really be to motivate, bring on all the citizens and companies, because there is a B2C and a B2B distinction to be made, to put everybody in charge and motivate everybody to take on his role in the journey. So yes, but do not wait for the government, inspire them, bring possibilities, and then build the story together. And of course, regulation helps, and also in our case, because there's, I think Dieter already said, there are always actors who will say, oh, we don't need this, we can do without. It can enforce, for example, what's happening now. We have new legislation coming up, which is really enforcing all the retailers to offer monthly billing and dynamic tariffs by the regulation. So the regulation at a certain point, when the technology is there, it really can help to bring to set the next step. But do not wait for it. That's my message.
Okay, thank you, Dieter.
Yeah, as Davy said, do not wait for it. I would say, if you do not act, you might get rules which you might don't like, right? That's what we have seen in the past, right? There have been active utilities which went upfront. Just thinking about the Nordics, which they did long before there has been regulation, smart meter rollout, and I had a discussion with one of the utilities in the past who said, look, we learned so much out of it. We have seen new opportunities now thanks to this. It was a nightmare to start. It was a hard way to get through. We spent a lot of time and money, but we see now that the benefits are much bigger than we ever thought. I think this is just a part. They say, should the government get involved? I'm a liberal mind. I don't like if someone puts you all the rules and regulation in front of you. I think what I expect from government, maybe more even from the European Commission, are guidelines, are supporting some nudges in the way that they say, wouldn't it be good to do this, to get at the holistic picture, right? So the government should encourage and should put some incentives, incentivize those things, that utilities who move should get better tariff or whatever, right? In this way, should get other advantages. I think that's the way to go. When the government comes and set in rules, clear legislation, then it's most of the time not really to the advantage of utilities, respectively of the society, because it's always a cut out of a lot of things.
Okay, thank you, Dieter. Klemen, so I understand that your answer is that government body should get involved, but now I want to ask you why. What do you think? What is the main reason for that? Is that the big inertia of utilities, because we see that utilities have benefits? What do you think?
I agree with Dieter, and I'm the same kind of a person. I don't really like to be ruled and get too much of the directives, but I think there is one clear point where the government should involve themselves, and this is the fact that we are talking about the mission critical infrastructure. And since this is the case, and under mission critical, water is also one of them, we need to take care of the security. I think security for sure is one of the parts then where we should not let everything to the market. There should be a clear level of security described, defined. Of course, it's not the government, but the government will set the rules, and then there will be other standardization bodies, associations defining this. As one of them, for example, again, it's DLMS, and we are pretty fine to follow all those things. And yeah, the security on all levels. We have communication, we have data exchange, we have data access, we have data in systems, clouds. There's a lot of questions raising here. We have even data in the mobile apps of our end users. And all these ecosystems, somehow it needs to be controlled. And here I see the major, let's say, driving force that it needs to come from the government or the European Commission, whatever you like.
Yeah. Okay, it is our final and last question. Should the European Commission get involved to reach the implementation and standardization in the field of multi-utility? So if you have something to add about that, Dieter, maybe you can first.
Yeah, when I look back at the long journey of smart electricity meters, then I can say a few utilities started early 2000 to think about and to get some stuff done in this direction, did some pilot, tried, but the real drive we got after the European Commission started to drive smart metering in the first energy package which they put in, where the goal has been, as they called it, 20-20-20, so 20% CO2 reduction by 2020, giving the end user a monthly correct billing, go away from the estimation which we had, things like this. It was the start of the driving in this respect for the electricity meter. The good thing which they did was not too much regulation, putting a scheme into place and say, this is what you should serve to the customer, and this is how the system should look like, or what elements should be in there. And I think this helped the utilities as a way to see, okay, what needs to be in, what can be left out, where is our place to play, right? But with a clear goal, within the next 10, 15 years, we need to get these things done. So enough time, a quite clear picture what needs to be done, but the freedom to do it as they like, right? This has been, I think, quite well done. And I think when you look into multi-utility, into smart city, we need kind of the same, wouldn't say regulation, but rules, how we should go forward in this area, so that they put the boundaries together, say this is the things, and always with the view on end user. And as we discussed already several times today, don't forget the security and privacy on all the things on this mission critical networks, and look into the future. I expect that European Commission discusses already with organizations like ESMIG, like Euroelectric, Aqua, Faecogas, ETSO, And I also know that DLMS is supporting India quite well with the new protocols in this area. So I expect that the European Commission talk to those associations on one side and come up with some guidelines and supporting standards.
Okay, thank you, Dieter. Klemen.
Yeah, I will speak now from the position of DLMS. What we see here that we need to do is quite extensive work on the level of standardization, which will then brings us to the interoperability. We have some portion of this standardized, and in electricity, I think the compliance and compatibility both are there. We have a formal process of certification of the devices there and some use case defined. I see that this will be needed as well in other segments, especially the ones that are now heavily evolving, because at the end, if we will really want to leave the multi-utility, all those interfaces in between across different industrial segments and systems, they will need to be somehow standardized and defined. I'm not saying that we should unify the communication parts, no, right on the contrary, there will be multiple different options, but on the application level, I think we will need to set some standards and, as I said, some interfaces where different protocols will come together and bring something more. And as the last thought, I think the other thing, which is not so technical, it's more on the how should say definition base. We in Europe, if I look across the utilities, in terms of solutions, we are very diverse. Diverse because, as Dieter said before, some of them started earlier, some of them they followed, the other ones they did not look, or they didn't have the possibility to exchange the experience, and they go their own way. But at the end, looking from the helicopter perspective, the solutions are not that different. So maybe there some idea or the intention to harmonize those currently diverse solutions in the whole region of Europe would also benefit and helps us to move further and faster.
Okay, thank you. I hope that we will do that. Davy, your final word.
Yeah, I would like to build further on that. Indeed, as at Fluvius and as utility, we have been for a long time very supportive supporter of the DLMS, first the IDIS, which is now into the DLMS, because standards, etc., are really important. I think coming back to the question, should the European Commission be involved? I think there should be rules and directions be set even more clear towards it goes, because what we see we are missing a risk is how can we source the solutions which we need, and that's sourcing the assets on one side, meters and other kind of sensors, but also IT solutions and data. And it's like Klemen just said, there is a too big variety of solutions, so it's also for software vendors, device manufacturers, it's hard to choose what kind of things to develop and to market. So the market is a little bit too diverse. So I therefore support the idea of harmonizing that, giving direction, so that there is more focus on building towards that. Because yeah, we talk today on multi-utility, but this thing is growing, and it's in fact a smart city, everything which relates to that, and it's even more complex. So harmonization is needed there. So I think we would like to call upon the European levels to help us there, giving direction, especially also, and it was mentioned on the security topic. It's really important to set clear requirements or things, do's and don'ts on security level, because it's not on a global level. We really need to give the right message to the device manufacturers, to the system integrators, what the expected level will be. Otherwise, we cannot source from utility. We cannot, in a market competitive way, source what we need, devices and solutions. And there, I think work can be done.
Okay, thank you, Davy. So we have had an excellent and, let's say, very potential topic to discuss today. It seems that multi-utility today is in the position where smart metering was 10 or 15 years ago, and that additional initiative is needed to accelerate the implementation of multi-utility. So instead of conclusions, I can put some questions. Is it necessary to give a new mandate to the European Commission or expand the existing M441 mandate in order to speed up the multi-utility implementation? And should the EU bring a new energy package in which it would push the implementation of multi-utility? And at the end, also, I would like to thank ENLIT for promoting Smart Talks with Jovan webinar. And since we opened some new topics and didn't have time to talk about them on webinar, we will continue our discussion on a panel at this year's ENLIT conference in Paris. Thanks to Mr. Belec, Mr. Michiels, and Mr. Brunner. Thank you to the audience, and let's shape the future together.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen, for a good discussion.
Always welcome to Belgium and Flanders to guide you around in the multi-utility.